This week, Ben and I are looking at the port strike coming up, also the expiration of the Farm Bill, and then talking about some harvest progress. Hello and welcome to the weekly commodity market update. I'm Brownfield's Will Robinson, joined as always by the University of Missouri's Ben Brown. Ben, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you this afternoon, Will?
I'm enjoying my afternoon. Have baseball on my second monitor up here as I get my work done. Crazy playoff implications today. If for viewers and listeners out there, we're recording this episode on Monday, so we have some 163rd game action going on right now.
Yeah, I don't know. This is fun. This reminds me back in the days when you used to have to play a one game playoff to even make it into the playoffs. And they did away with that. And yet here we are playing a doubleheader on, an extra day of the regular season. So
Right. It
yeah,
kind
we'll
of
take it.
uplifts the spirits a little bit. And talking about some uplifting things, we have seen a general increase week over week across the board for the markets. Just giving a quick rundown here. For December, the corn contract up 11 cents at 424. December 2025, corn up 4 cents at 454. November soybeans up 18 cents at 1057. November 2025, soybeans up 15 cents at 1094. The soybean oil contract for December on a cents per pound basis up 1.47 cents at 43.31. Soybean meal by the short ton for December up $12.90 at 341.60. That December wheat crop is up 2 cents at 584. December cotton is up 17 cents per pound at 73.61. Then that West Texas Intermediate Crude Oil, one of these days I'm going to get that right. West Texas Intermediate Crude Oil contract down $2.05 a barrel at 67.88. So Ben, a generally positive week for ag producers when you look across the board. What's the implication? Just this kind of light uplook to the markets.
Well, so I don't know if you realize this. It took me till just now to realize this too. And I checked while you were reading down the prices. This is the second consecutive week where pretty much all the prices are up week over week. And we talked last week about how rare it is to have all the prices up in the same week. And this week to have that coupled with lower crude oil prices, right? Generally, when we see prices all move together higher, it's being led by, something in the macro economy, but certainly, crude oil is falling immune to that today. So, or this last week, down $2 a barrel. So, yeah, if you're a crop producer, this is definitely positive signs. And I really think, if I can take just a second here, I really think, this is kind of a little bit of change of sentiment rather than a change of fundamentals. I don't think our fundamentals have changed all that much. Yes, there's dryness in certain parts of the world. Yes, there's conflict. But especially in the dry parts of the world, like South America, for instance, we're not so late enough that I'm panicked that we're not going to produce a large crop down there, right? Yes, the window's getting smaller. That room for error is getting smaller. But we could still see a very large crop come out of South America. Same thing with the wheat, right? So wheat's had kind of some production scares here lately too. And I look at all those and say, there's room to recover. So the fundamentals haven't changed, but certainly the sentiment's changed, and that's allowed these markets to move higher here the last couple of weeks.
Well, Ben, just talking about the fundamentals not changing, too much. We are seeing some things that could be maybe shifting that picture a little bit. So looking on the maybe the infrastructure and the transporting sector of things within the ag markets. We're getting ready to start a port lockout with a lot of these workers. I think around 45,000 port workers going on strike here starting midnight on Tuesday morning, so 12 a.m. Tuesday. We're going to have several thousand workers on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast go out. So, Ben, what's this look like when it comes to impacting those ag supply chains when you got those critical ports like, down in Louisiana that are really going to take a hit from this, especially during this, the aftermath of some of this hurricane damage?
Sure. Well, even a short strike here, I think, really starts to back up supply chains, really starts to cause pressure on, getting product into the country. We could see some price, some short-term price impacts. Of course, like that short-term statement I just made right there, that's highly dependent on how long this lasts. But I maintain even a short strike, a couple of days maybe, really will back up supply chains. And and cause quite the impact to consumers, but then also for our row crop producers that we're trying to get product here at harvest. We're trying to get product out of the country into export markets, and that'll have a big impact as well. So kind of unfortunate timing. It's never a good time for this. We did see, there was another strike last week in Vancouver with airport workers that came to a resolution late Friday afternoon after a few days of negotiations. Hopefully this can reach a conclusion here quickly.
Well, Ben, just looking at the timing of this, you talk about the timing never being good for situations like this, looking at either of those two that really impacts the supply chain. But even looking at the overall federal government, we're seeing some hiccups right now that could have implications on the bottom lines of producers, looking out into next season even. So, changing, I guess, a little bit over into the Farm Bill, also a big ticket item there. On Monday, September 30th, the Farm Bill, the extension for the Farm Bill expired. And so now, as we look at where Congress sits, both in the House and the Senate, they're entering or I guess we're kind of done with this session now. So the next chance to pass an extension or anything with the Farm Bill would be during the lame duck session after the November election there. So what's hanging in the balance right now as far as, how producers should be viewing this? What kind of concerns might be coming to mind on a dollars and cents front?
Well, so historically, passing farm bills after they expire is the norm, not the exception. And so I'd have to go back and look to see how many we've passed after the bill expired. But certainly here in recent times, that's become the trend. Even the 2018 Farm Bill that we're working off an extension now, it was passed in December after the bill had expired in December. We got a 1-year extension last year to kick us to today, and so I sit here and say, can we get a bill passed in the lame duck session? Sure. It's going to largely, I think, the future of that is going to be dependent on the outcome of the election. There's a number of different combinations of election outcomes, both parties, control over chambers that could lead to the passage of a farm bill. It probably looks a little different depending, on who's, or at least the expectations of what's going to be the desire moving forward. And so, but certainly I think it's possible. This farm bill in particular has faced its challenges. Anytime you're trying to write a farm bill in a period of changing financial conditions, it adds additional stress. And let me back up. I've only been a part of a couple of these, so I can't really speak. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert in terms of like the history of farm bills.
Yeah.
But I have studied enough of them to know that when you do have changes in situation, farm income, for instance, there's a lot of pressure to do something. I thought it was interesting. A couple of weeks ago, we heard legislators talking about the need for a almost like an ad hoc farm income package, disaster aid package to be passed to help producers during that period. Yep, supplemental income during this period. That. On one hand, you had producers asking for that. On the other hand, you had legislators saying, well, no, that just weakens the desire to get a farm bill passed. And so, those are all the conversations and debates that make farm bill politics interesting, exciting, stressful. From a very practical nature, there are some programs within the farm bill that do not have continued funding. They are not authorized past today. It's a lot of programs that don't necessarily get headline mentions. But when we get to January, that's when some of those bigger headline programs start to really kick in. Obviously, for our row crop producers, the March deadlines for both commodity program enrollment and some of the other Title I programs come up in March. So we've got a little bit of a window here to where you can kind of float by without having real major impacts. Certainly there are some small programs or smaller programs that don't have appropriated funding, but you can kind of float by here for a while and get to the lame duck session. But yeah, something will have to be done in the lame duck, probably, whether that's passing a new farm bill and an extension. So
Well,
we'll see what happens.
and adding to that picture, part of the issue is like having this, trying to get this done during lame duck. It's not even priority one whenever you're looking at the things that need to cover, because we had a continuing resolution to fund the government just extended into that December 20th deadline. So you'd imagine that Congress would have that as priority A1, that they need to get the government funded and that going forward before you can even approach the farm bill discussion. So there are some hurdles to get done before you even get to that discussion. But Ben, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You raised an excellent point. Very excellent point. And we've already heard people talk about there's not going to be a whole lot of time for farm bill action in 2025. A lot of representatives and senators have already said that they want to carve out that time in 2025 for tax policy work. And so you raise a great point, right? The oxygen and air to do farm bill negotiations, debates has been hard to come by the last, I'm going to say 18 months. This Congress has frankly dealt with some issues that have just taken a lot of time on the calendar, and that's left little time for everything else, including the farm bill.
Yeah. Well, Ben, looking forward on, some things that could move the market. We're looking at some harvest numbers coming in from USDA. And really the crop quality for both corn and soybeans mostly held steady. Corn just dropped about 1%, but harvest for both the leading crops are ahead of normal, ahead of average. So, I guess things generally looking up as we continue to roll through harvest.
Yeah, I think harvest is moving. There hasn't been up until this last week. There hasn't been a whole lot to slow them down. So I think harvest has kind of been materializing. It's maybe not as fast as what people had been talking about, but certainly it's moving at a pretty quick clip. Of course, today's Monday, and we had the grain stocks report today that gave us the ending grain stocks numbers for 2024. And so that was, that I think kind of took up most of the oxygen in the market, and will kind of set the stage for Tuesday when this program comes out, more so than the crop progress at this time of year. We're almost done with crop progress. They'll be wrapping up here pretty quick.
All right, Ben, what else should farmers and ranchers be paying attention to this week?
Yeah, it's after this last week, it's a very quiet week. Probably the highlight is at the end of the week on Friday. We do get September non-farm payroll data, wage data, unemployment data, and so that'll come out Friday morning. That'll be closely watched to tease out any signs of recession, or this is really the report kind of captures pre-Federal Reserve interest rate decision, and so this will be kind of another one of those points of like, did the Federal Reserve do the right thing, or does the labor market remain very tight? So that's kind of the unique one this week on Friday. Outside of that, everything else is pretty normal, pretty standard for us.
All right. Well, viewers and listeners, if you'd like to learn more about us and what we do here at the Weekly Commodity Market Update, go to brownfieldagnews.com. Or you can also check out our sister program, the Weekly Livestock Market Update, as well. Ben, thanks again for all your knowledge and information on the program. I'm Will Robinson on Brownfield.